How you doing? How you doing? This is Professor Mark Williams, and I'm your professor for intermediate algebra. Today, we're starting out a new section looking at quadratic functions. Specifically, we want to look at the parabola. F of x is equal to x squared. Now remember, this is just a supplemental video. I want to work a couple of problems for you, maybe help you work through some of your misconceptions or misunderstandings. But always remember, at MyLabs Plus, there are videos out there created by the writers of your textbook that are intended to be lectures for these sections. So let's dive right in and take a look at this problem. Look at the parabola. Let's look at it a little bit different. Let's look at, first of all, start with x squared minus 2. Let's look at the idea of x squared minus 2. Okay? Now, a parabola looks something like this. This is the form of a parabola. Okay? Where this lowest most point, if it's right side up, is the vertex. Okay? It's the vertex. All equations in the form of x squared all have the same horseshoe type shape. If it's positive, then it always points up. If it's negative, then it always points down. So today, let's start off, we're going to look at this equation here, x squared minus 2. Well, we know that it points up, but we want to graph it. So we can make an xy plot in order to graph this. And let's use -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 as the x values we're going to choose. And of course, this represents the y values. So let's plug it in. -2 squared minus 2 gives you a 2. -1 squared is 1 minus 2 gives you a -1. 0 gives you a -2. 1 squared minus 2 gives you a -1. 2 squared is 4 minus 2 gives you a 2. So now we want to graph this. So let's write an xy graph right here. XY graph. Here's 1, -1, -2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2. Okay? Now let's use a little bit of a color here. If x is equal to -2, then y is equal to 2. If x is equal to -1, then y is equal to -1. If x is equal to 0, y is equal to -2. If x is equal to 1, y is equal to -1. And if it's equal to 2, it's equal to 2. So here's the shape of your parabola. Again, we have a positive right here, so it points up. And this point right here is called your vertex. It's called the vertex. And one of the things you'll see as you work through these sections is that when you look at this, we know you should be able to memorize and begin to learn the graphs of different quadratic functions, and you should know exactly where the graph of y is equal to x squared lies so that you can transform and shift the equations around. So in this case, you've got this -2, but it simply tells you to shift the known graph that you have down to, right? You shift it down to. And so there's different ways to manipulate the quadratic equation and shifting up and down. In this case, if you knew the exact position of the quadratic equation, you simply could have drawn it by moving it down to -2. But there's the vertex. The vertex is at 0, -2. Okay? Well, we know that this is sort of the form of the quadratic equation. And if we're going to look at the form of the parabola, the full form of a parabola, let's look at a slightly different problem. One that's a little more complicated. But if we're going to write the quadratic function, we can write it in terms of ax squared plus bx plus c. Right? That is the quadratic function of a parabola, where the vertex is -b over 2x, that's your x value, over the function evaluated at -b over 2x. Okay? So let's solve one of these problems. Right? See if we can find something that would be a lot of fun to do. You know, some of these math problems, when they're a little more complicated, this is something that maybe you could do on a date, right? You're out with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and things are slowing down, maybe you're getting a little bored. You say, you know what, let's solve some math problems. Let's graph some parabolas. I mean, there's worse things in life you could do. And I'm married with 7 children, right? And so I must have known what I'm talking about when it comes to dates. So we're going to look at x squared minus 2x plus 2. Minus 2x plus 2. Now, we can immediately look and see there's a positive, so this is going to point up. This one's going to point up. And we want to find the vertex. Let's see if we can determine the vertex. Well, we know the x value is negative b over 2a. Okay? And I've got this wrong here. This is 2a, and this is 2a. Okay? Should have caught me on that one. Negative b over 2a. So, in this particular thing, we know that a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 2, and c is equal to 2. So, very quickly, you have negative, and then you have a negative 2 over 2 times 1. So this ends up being a positive 2 over 2, or 1. Now we want to evaluate f of positive 1. Okay, so we have 1, and then if you put a positive 1 in here, you get 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 2. So looking at this, we're going to get 1 minus 2 plus 2. Okay, 1 minus 2 plus 2. So, looking at that, minus 2 plus 2, that gives us 1. So then the vertex is going to be 1, comma 1. That's the vertex. But we still want to graph this. So if we create an XY plot again, and with this one, let's do negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, take the time, we're going to do three points. Then, if you put in negative 3, you've got 3 squared, which is 9, okay, plus 6, right, which is 15, plus 2, 17. Negative 2 is 4, plus 4, which is 8, plus 2 is 10. Then we've got negative 1, which is 1, plus 2, which is 3, plus 2 is 5. Okay? Then 0 gives you a plus 2. 1 then is 1 minus 2, right, which is negative 1 plus 2 is a 1. Then 2 is 4 minus 4, which is 0, and 2. Okay? And then 3 is 9 squared minus 2x. Right, 9 squared, and then 3 minus 6 9 minus 6 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Okay? So we've got enough so we can see the pattern. So let's see if we can quickly graph this. Okay? And let's just see if we can, here's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got some that are very high, but let's just see if we can focus on the ones that are very close here. At 0, then x is 2. At 1, x is 1. At 2, x is 2. At 3, these are y values. At x equals 0, y is 2. At x equals 1, y is 1. At x equals 2, and then x equals 3, y is 5. And then we know at negative 1, y is 5 over here. Okay, and that's enough right there. So you can see our parabola looks just like that. And here is the vertex. We said the vertex was 1, 1. And look, lo and behold, it is 1, 1. Okay? Now, look at this. This is the standard form of a quadratic equation. I'm going to erase all this because there's a second form of the quadratic equation. Okay? The second form of the quadratic equation is called the vertex form. The vertex form. The vertex form looks like this. F of x is equal to, and let me make sure I have this, I get this right. If you write this down, the vertex form, f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, okay, where h comma k is the vertex. All right, so in this particular case, you would be given a problem and be asked to determine the vertex. So let's say that f of x is equal to x minus 2 squared plus 3. All right, well in this case, and I put this purposely like this because this is the number one mistake that students make, that is hk. But in the equation, h is negative. So in this case, the vertex then, just looking at this equation, the vertex is 2 comma 3. Not negative 2 comma 3 because you have a minus h. So this is called the vertex form. And one of the things you'll be learning in the next sections and be working through is being able to write the vertex form by completing the square. So very quickly, one last thing in this particular section is if we want to write it like this, well, what if we were given, we want to solve this equation, be able to graph it and all of that through this, and we're given the equation x squared plus 4x. Right? X squared plus 4x. Well, we can write this as a perfect square trinomial. Okay? And so we want to be able to write this as x squared plus 4x plus another number that allows us, okay, to write this, in this form. X plus some number squared. Okay. When completing the square, it's b over 2 squared. This number is b over 2 squared. Well, this is b. 4 divided by 2 squared is 4. However, in order to keep this function the same function, if you add 4, you also have to subtract 4 out here. Okay? So this term then becomes b over 2 squared. Okay? And so that's an x plus 2 minus 4. So now this function becomes x plus 2 squared minus 4, which would have a vertex of, the vertex is equal to a negative 2 comma 4. So here's the standard form of a parabola, and here's the vertex form of a parabola. In both cases, you're able to find the vertex. You can find minimums, you can find maximums, you're able to find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, all of those things. So I hope this has been a helpful video for you. Keep up the hard work, and we'll see you next time.